So I honor this person's certainty, but that is a completely incorrect statement. So let's bring correction in love, because this is a fascinating topic that most Christians actually have no clue about. Let's address the incorrect statement first, that the word Christian isn't in the Bible. The term Christian, to identify followers of Jesus' teaching, is mentioned in the Bible 3 times. And it isn't just mentioned 3 times, it's mentioned in every single translation of the Bible 3 times. The name Christian is used in Acts 11:26, and in Acts 26:28, and in 1 Peter 4:16. So right there, 3 verses in the Bible, every translation, that mention the name Christian to distinguish a group of people. And of course, we all know what Christian is supposed to mean nowadays, a follower of Christ. But this leads into an interesting subject, because most Christians don't know why they are called Christian. Because it's generally agreed upon that at first, the followers of Christ weren't called Christians, but were simply Jews who believed that Jesus was the Messiah. But as the faith quickly grew, Jesus' followers soon came to be known as belonging to the way, and that's Acts 9:2 and 22:4, and the way is mentioned again in Acts 19:9. They were also referred to as Nazarenes. Jesus is called a Nazarene in Matthew 2:23. Paul is said to be Nazarene and the ringleader of the sect of Nazarenes in Acts 24:5. And early church sources, such as Tertullus in his Against Marcion, recorded that the Jews called us Nazarenes. And Eusebius in 331 AD said that Christ was called a Nazarene from the name Nazareth, and that in earlier centuries, Christians were once called Nazarenes. So how did we land on the word Christians to describe ourselves? Because Jesus never called us that. Well, the first time in the Bible followers of Christ are referred to as Christians is in Acts 11:26, which occurred in Antioch, which was at that time the 3rd largest city in the Roman Empire. And Antioch was nice. Herod the Great had paved over 2 miles of its streets with marble, and it had beautiful colonnades from end to end. 2 miles of road of marble. I mean, dang. The story goes that after the disciple Stephen was martyred around 34-35 AD, a large population of Christians fled Jerusalem and set up shop in Antioch in Syria, which wasn't so strict with the whole stoning for blasphemy thing. When they got to Antioch, immediately they began ministering and converting both Gentiles and Jews. But just because they weren't stoning Jesus believers in the streets in Antioch, it doesn't mean that they had the red carpet rolled out for them. In fact, Antioch, as the 3rd largest imperial city, had a massive imperial cult, as Romans believed their emperor was divine. So a whole bunch of Jesus freaks rolling into a Roman city that didn't honor the emperor as divine, they were naturally going to have a rough go of it. So when the Antiochans threw the word Christian at the believers, it was meant as like a sneer of disdain, since they didn't acknowledge the emperor of Rome as a god. Some historians even suggest that the name Christian came from the Greek speakers in Antioch taking the word Christos, Christ, or anointed one, and using it in a mocking tone. Little Christs, or little anointed ones, little anointed ones. But the believers in Antioch actually doing that when an enemy strikes you, offer them the other side of your cheek thing that Jesus talked about, they received the insult and instead used it as an identifier. And soon that's what they came to be known as. And then when Peter kind of threw his backing behind it over the term Nazarenes, it stuck. So what started as an insult eventually would become something proudly proclaimed. Josephus was the first to coin the term outside of the Bible, saying the word referred to the tribe of Christians so named for him. There's also Pliny the Younger's letter to Trajan, and the historian Tacitus, who wrote, by vulgar appellation they were commonly called Christians. So there you are, a word that was considered a slur, which came to proudly represent people. Kind of like a man that was hung on a cross, the ultimate sign of shame in the Roman Empire, who rose up and took his place on his throne. The world's a little funny sometimes, isn't it? Check the links for more goodness. God bless.